Ask 10 people the best way to protect their heart, and almost every one of them will say the same two things: exercise more and cut back on saturated fat. And both of those are true. They matter. But they are maybe a third of the real story, and the part nobody tells you about is the part that happens while you sleep. Here is what almost no one explains. Your heart does some of its most important recovery overnight, in the hours after your blood pressure naturally drops and your heart rate slows down. What you eat in that last hour before bed either helps that recovery or quietly works against it. And after 60, this matters more than almost anything because cardiovascular damage is slow and silent. Arterial narrowing does not hurt as it builds. Plaque does not announce itself. By the time a blockage is significant enough to cause symptoms, decades of quiet damage may already be done. And unlike the headlines, the real story is not about one dramatic event. It is about the daily decisions that either protect or erode the arteries between now and then. I have spent 28 years watching this quiet problem sneak up on good people who thought they were doing everything right. So tonight, I am giving you the fruits to eat in the evening that actually help protect your heart while you sleep. Some of them you would expect. A few will genuinely surprise you. And one of them is a fruit that a lot of people on common heart medications need to be careful with, for a reason I am going to explain honestly and clearly. At the very end, I will hand you a simple bedtime recipe that puts the safest and best of them into one glass. Before I give you the first fruit, I want to say one thing to the person watching who feels like they may have already left this too late. Listen to me. The arteries are living tissue. They respond. Studies consistently show that with the right inputs, the inflammation that drives cardiovascular disease can slow, arterial stiffness can ease, and blood pressure can come down meaningfully in people well into their 70s and 80s. I have watched patients hold their numbers steady for years once they stopped overloading their cardiovascular system and started giving it what it actually needs. That is the whole reason I make these videos. I want you living longer, stronger, and healthier well past the age everyone told you to slow down. So I took everything I tell my own patients, the food, the timing, the small daily habits that actually move the needle, and I put it into one simple plan. It has already helped thousands of people over 60 get their energy and their numbers back. If you want it, the link is sitting right there on your screen whenever you are ready. Now let us talk about your heart. Here is what almost no one explains in a 12-minute office visit. Your heart beats approximately 100,000 times a day. Every one of those beats pushes blood against the inner walls of your arteries. The lining of those walls, a tissue called the endothelium, is only one cell thick. It regulates blood pressure, prevents clotting where it should not happen, and controls how easily inflammatory cells can enter the arterial wall. It is the guardian of your cardiovascular system. And two things wear that guardian down faster than anything else. The first is inflammation. Not from a cut or a cold, but a slow, low-grade, invisible inflammation that smolders in the arterial wall for years. When the endothelium is inflamed, it becomes more permeable. LDL cholesterol can slide in where it does not belong. Once inside the wall, that LDL gets oxidized and transformed into the substance that forms plaque. That plaque stiffens the artery, narrows the channel, and sets the stage for everything that follows. The second is oxidative stress, a slow internal rusting of your cells, the same process that turns a cut apple brown. When the cells of your arterial wall are under oxidative stress, they produce less of the compounds that keep blood pressure controlled and platelet behavior calm. The two problems feed each other in a cycle that gets harder to break with each passing decade. Now here is why the evening is the part nobody tells you about. Your heart and blood pressure are not meant to stay flat all day and night. In a healthy body, blood pressure drops by 10 to 20% while you sleep. We call that nighttime dipping. It is the cardiovascular system's recovery window, the hours when the pressure comes off the arterial walls and the heart gets to rest. People whose pressure does not dip properly at night, the ones we call non-dippers, show significantly higher rates of cardiovascular events over time. That is well established. So the goal of everything you eat in that last hour is simple. Help your pressure dip, cool the inflammation and the rusting, and do not hand your heart a pile of extra metabolic work right as it is trying to rest. Every fruit I'm about to give you does one of three jobs in that overnight window. It delivers antioxidants that quench the oxidative stress and protect the arterial wall. It carries plant compounds that relax blood vessels and help your pressure take its natural nighttime dip. Or it works upstream on your gut, your cholesterol, your inflammatory signals to take a load off the heart before it ever becomes a problem. and almost every one of them is gentle enough to eat at night. I say almost because there is one important exception, and I will be very direct with you when we get to it. Let me show you the first fruit. The first fruit is blueberries, and this is the one with the strongest, cleanest evidence behind it. So we start here. What makes a blueberry that deep blue color is a pigment called anthocyanin. Anthocyanins are among the most powerful antioxidants ever identified in food. For your heart, that matters in a direct way. Remember the arterial rusting, the oxidative stress that damages the endothelium and triggers plaque formation? Anthocyanins are exactly the compounds that quench it. They also improve arterial flexibility, which is one of the most meaningful markers of cardiovascular health as we age. Stiffer arteries mean higher pressure with every beat. More flexible arteries absorb that pressure the way they were designed to. A study tracking tens of thousands of people over multiple decades found that regular consumption of anthocyanin-rich foods was associated with meaningfully lower rates of heart attack compared to those who rarely ate them. For your endothelium, these pigments are among the most protective things you can give it. Here is how to use them at night. A small handful, about half a cup, on their own, or stirred into a little plain yogurt. Frozen works just as well as fresh. Frozen berries are often picked at peak ripeness, so the pigment content is actually higher. Keep the portion modest. Half a cup gives your arteries the antioxidant load they need without much sugar at all, right before your cardiovascular system settles in for its overnight recovery. Number 2 is one almost nobody thinks to eat at night, and almost everyone has the wrong idea about. Cranberries. Most people file cranberries under one thing, that tart juice you reach for when you feel an infection coming on. And they are not wrong, but they are stopping at the surface. Here is the deeper reason cranberries belong in a heart video. Cranberries contain a concentrated supply of polyphenols that specifically protect LDL cholesterol from oxidation. And remember, it is the oxidized form of LDL that slides into the arterial wall and becomes plaque. Cranberries do not lower the amount of LDL in your blood. They protect it from the transformation that makes it dangerous. They also improve HDL function, the cholesterol that works to remove plaque-forming material from the arterial wall, which is one of the more underappreciated benefits in cardiovascular research. The catch is the same one it always is. Skip the sugary cranberry cocktail. Reach for unsweetened dried cranberries in a small amount, or a splash of pure unsweetened cranberry juice cut generously with water. A little goes a long way, and it is a smart, gentle thing to send through your system before your heart settles in for the night. Number 3 is red grapes, and the color is the whole point. Reach for the red and purple ones, not the green. The skin of a red grape is rich in resveratrol, a plant compound that has become one of the most studied molecules in all of aging research. For your heart, resveratrol does 2 things at once. It calms inflammation in the arterial wall, and it helps blood vessels relax and widen, which is exactly what you want happening as your body prepares for its pressure dip through the night. Relaxed vessels mean a smoother, lower overnight blood pressure, and lower overnight pressure means less wear on the arterial wall while you sleep. Resveratrol also affects platelet behavior. Platelets that are less sticky are less likely to form the kind of clots that can cause sudden cardiac events. That is a genuine, direct benefit to the cardiovascular system. Grapes have a quiet bonus that fits this video perfectly. They naturally contain a small amount of melatonin, the same signal your brain uses to tell your body it is time for sleep. Deeper sleep and a healthy nighttime pressure drop are the same coin. A fruit that nudges you gently toward better sleep is a fruit that gives your heart its proper recovery window. About 10 to 15 red grapes is the right evening portion, eaten whole with the skin because the resveratrol lives there. A trick I like is to freeze them. Frozen grapes take longer to eat and feel like a real dessert, which keeps you away from the actual ice cream. Number 4 is the humble apple, and it protects your heart through a back door most people never think about, your gut. An apple is one of the best sources of a soluble fiber called pectin. When that pectin reaches your gut, it binds bile acids in your digestive tract. Your liver then has to pull LDL cholesterol from your blood to make new bile acids. The result is a measurable drop in circulating LDL, not from a drug but from a fiber. Pectin is one of the mechanisms behind the phrase "an apple a day," and it is a real one. On top of that, a well-fed gut microbiome, the kind that thrives on pectin, sends far less inflammatory signaling into your bloodstream. That matters because the arteries filter everything in that bloodstream, and a gut that is chronically inflamed keeps the arterial wall under constant low-grade stress. There is even a growing body of research on what scientists call the gut-heart axis, and it is one of the most active areas in cardiovascular medicine right now. There is more in the skin. Apple skin carries quercetin, an antioxidant shown to protect blood vessel lining and reduce inflammatory markers in the bloodstream. Peel the apple and you throw most of that away. Eat it whole. A medium apple in the evening is ideal. A tart variety like a Granny Smith has a little less sugar and more of the good fiber. Slice it and sprinkle real cinnamon on top if you want it to feel like a treat. Eat it an hour or two before bed so the fiber has time to begin its work before you lie down. So far, every fruit has been doing the same quiet work, cooling the inflammation, easing the pressure, protecting the arterial wall, and we are only halfway. The next 4 are where it gets interesting, including the one that does something for your heart none of the others can, and the one that a lot of people on common heart medications need to be careful with. Quick favor before I go on. If this is the first time anyone has actually explained why your heart needs help at night instead of just telling you to exercise more and eat less fat, do me a favor and hit subscribe and give this video a like. And if you have someone in your family with high blood pressure or elevated cholesterol, the 2 biggest drivers of cardiovascular disease there are, send this to them. This is exactly the conversation their doctor does not have time for in a 12-minute visit. Number 5 is tart cherries, and this is the first real surprise of the night. Most people know cherries as a sweet summer fruit. Tart cherries are a different category, and they are a serious cardiovascular ally for a reason that comes down to inflammation. Specifically, tart cherries are among the most potent dietary reducers of C-reactive protein that research has identified. C-reactive protein, or CRP, is one of the most reliable blood markers of the systemic inflammation driving arterial disease. Clinical studies have found that consistent tart cherry consumption produces measurable reductions in CRP and other inflammatory markers in the blood. A direct, measurable favor to your heart. And tart cherries fit the bedtime theme better than almost anything here because they are one of the richest natural sources of melatonin there is. The same melatonin nudging you into deeper sleep is helping your blood pressure take its full nighttime dip, the heart's recovery window. Reduced inflammation and deeper sleep from one small fruit right before bed. Use them as unsweetened dried tart cherries in a small amount, or a splash of pure unsweetened tart cherry juice cut with water about an hour before bed. Number 6 is strawberries, and they belong here for the same reason the blueberry does, with a couple of bonuses of their own. Strawberries are loaded with antioxidants, including a compound called ellagic acid, along with a significant dose of vitamin C. Together, they go straight at the oxidative stress that damages the arterial endothelium. They are also genuinely anti-inflammatory, and for a fruit that tastes like dessert, that is serious cardiovascular work. The vitamin C in strawberries specifically supports nitric oxide production in the blood vessel wall. More nitric oxide means more relaxed vessels. More relaxed vessels means lower pressure against the wall with every heartbeat. Strawberries are mostly water and fiber with very little sugar, making them one of the lightest, gentlest things you can put in your stomach at night. About half a cup to a cup in the evening, sliced, on their own, or with a spoon of plain yogurt. Simple, light, and exactly what your cardiovascular system wants as it settles in for the night. Number 7 is pineapple, and this is the one almost nobody thinks to eat for their heart. Pineapple has a secret weapon. It is the only common fruit containing a natural enzyme called bromelain. Bromelain is a genuine systemic anti-inflammatory that helps quiet the low-grade arterial inflammation driving cardiovascular disease forward year after year. Research has found that bromelain also influences platelet aggregation, potentially reducing the tendency of blood to clot unnecessarily. On top of that, pineapple brings vitamin C and a range of antioxidants, and it is mostly water, so it is hydrating without being heavy. The catch is sugar, so portion matters. About half a cup of fresh or frozen pineapple chunks an hour before bed is enough. Avoid canned pineapple sitting in added syrup, which defeats the purpose. Number 8 is the surprise I promised you, and it is citrus, oranges, and their relatives. The one fruit that a lot of people on common heart medications have been told to be careful with. And I need to explain both sides of this honestly, because the truth is genuinely two-sided. Here is the good side, and it is a real one. Citrus fruits are rich in a flavonoid called hesperidin, and hesperidin has a meaningful and well-documented effect on blood pressure. It works by improving the function of the endothelium, specifically by enhancing nitric oxide production in the blood vessel wall. Better nitric oxide means better arterial relaxation and better arterial relaxation is one of the most direct paths to lower overnight blood pressure. Oranges also carry vitamin C, potassium, and antioxidants that fight the same oxidative stress as everything else on this list. For most people, an orange or a few segments before bed is a bright, heart-friendly way to end the day. So why the warning? Grapefruit specifically, not all citrus, but grapefruit specifically, contains compounds called furanocoumarins that block a liver enzyme responsible for metabolizing many common medications, and this is not a minor interaction. Grapefruit can cause blood levels of statins, certain blood pressure medications, blood thinners, and other cardiovascular drugs to rise significantly, sometimes to dangerous levels. So the rule is this: if you take any heart medication, and many people in this audience do not add grapefruit to your routine without specifically asking your doctor whether your medication has a grapefruit interaction. Oranges, tangerines, and lemons are a different story and are generally safe. But grapefruit has its own category, and only your own medication list can tell you whether you are clear. For most people watching, an orange in the evening is a healthy and genuinely heart-protective choice. For some, grapefruit specifically is exactly the wrong one, and your medication bottle or your pharmacist can tell you which group you are in. Before I give you the bonus recipe, I need to draw a clear line the way I would in my own office. These fruits support a healthy heart and early, mild strain on the cardiovascular system. They are not a treatment for heart disease that is already advanced. If you have chest pain or pressure, especially with exertion, or that radiates to your arm or jaw, unexplained shortness of breath, sudden swelling in your legs or ankles, an irregular heartbeat that feels new or alarming, or severe fatigue that has arrived without explanation, those are not fruit problems. Those are call your doctor today problems. And if you already have a heart condition, you are on multiple cardiovascular medications, or you have been told your heart function is compromised, fold these fruits in only with your care team's guidance, especially regarding grapefruit. Food is the foundation. It is not the whole house. Let me tell you about someone I will call Margaret. She was 68, a retired school teacher, active, and she came in feeling relatively well. Her blood work told a quieter story. Her LDL had been creeping upward for 2 years. Her blood pressure, while not alarming, was not dipping properly at night, which we discovered when she wore a monitor for 24 hours. She was a non-dipper, and her CRP, the inflammatory marker, was elevated at a level that deserved attention. She was stunned. She walked every day. She ate what she considered a healthy diet. We did not start with a prescription. We started with her evenings. Margaret had a habit of winding down with crackers, a little cheese, and sometimes a bowl of ice cream most nights, right as her cardiovascular system was supposed to be settling into its recovery window. We swapped that. Blueberries and strawberries some nights, a small apple with cinnamon other nights, unsweetened tart cherries an hour before bed. She kept grapefruit out completely because she was on a statin with a known interaction. She added a 10-minute walk after dinner. A year later, her CRP had dropped meaningfully. Her LDL had eased without a medication change. And when we repeated the blood pressure monitoring, she was dipping properly at night for the first time in years. For a 68-year-old cardiovascular system, that is a genuine win. Now the bonus I promised, the simple bedtime recipe that puts the safest and best of these into one glass. I call it the bedtime heart tonic, and it takes 2 minutes. Into a blender, put a small handful of blueberries, about a quarter cup. Add 4 or 5 sliced strawberries. Add a splash, just a splash, of pure unsweetened tart cherry juice for the anti-inflammatory and melatonin benefit. Pour in about half a cup of plain unsweetened kefir or plain yogurt, which brings probiotics for the gut-heart connection we talked about, and a little water to loosen it. Finish with a small shake of real cinnamon, which improves insulin sensitivity and adds its own antioxidant layer. Blend it smooth. That is it. It is low in sugar, rich in the exact antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds your cardiovascular system wants overnight, and it gives you something to reach for at night that is working for your heart instead of against it. Drink it about an hour before bed in place of the salty snack or the bowl of ice cream that used to undo your whole evening. Let me give you a couple of easy variations so you do not get bored, because the one you actually keep doing is the one that works. On a night you want it sweeter, drop in a few red grapes before blending. If your stomach is sensitive at night, skip the kefir and use water with the berries and cherry juice. And if you would rather not blend at all, a small bowl of blueberries and sliced strawberries with a spoon of plain yogurt does most of the same work. The tool is not the blender, the tool is the swap. Notice I kept grapefruit out of the blended recipe on purpose, and deliberately so. If your medications are clear of interactions and you want to add citrus, keep it as a separate daytime option. Build the tonic from fruits that are safe for the widest number of people watching. So here is exactly what to do tonight. 5 simple steps. 1. Close your kitchen earlier. Try to make your last food of the night one of these fruits instead of something salty or processed, so your cardiovascular system starts its recovery window with less inflammatory load to manage. 2. Pick one fruit that is already in your house. Blueberries, strawberries, and apple. Eat a small portion about an hour before bed and simply notice how different that feels compared to the usual evening snack. 3. If you want the full effect, make the bedtime heart tonic. Blueberries, strawberries, a splash of tart cherry juice, plain kefir, a shake of cinnamon. 2 minutes and your heart has exactly what it needs going into the night. 4. Add a 10-minute walk after dinner every evening. Moving your muscles after a meal improves glucose metabolism, lowers post-meal blood pressure, and helps the blood pressure dip arrive deeper and earlier in the night. It is one of the most underrated habits in all of cardiovascular care, and it costs nothing. 5. If you are on any heart medication, write down one question for your doctor this week. Does any of my medication interact with grapefruit? That one question protects you and tells you exactly which of these fruits are fully yours. Now, eating the right fruit at night is one lever. But there is another one most people over 60 have never had properly checked. A single number on a standard blood test that quietly predicts cardiovascular trouble years before your cholesterol or blood pressure makes it obvious. Most doctors never mention it unless you ask, and most patients never ask because they do not know it exists. In my next video, I will tell you what that number is, how to ask for it by name at your next appointment, and what to do if yours is trending in the wrong direction.